Please hit like, share, and subscribe. Now enjoy the Practical Guitarist podcast.
Good evening, Jim.
Good evening, David.
I actually streamed to my Twitch channel just a second ago. I clicked start streaming and then I went, oh shit.
Whoops.
And I don't have our stuff in there right now because it's all set up for you have to swap back and forth. It's a whole fucking thing. So yeah, there's probably going to be some people like, what the fuck is this?
What is that?
Yeah.
Why
anyway,
was he showing me that?
I have spent the last 3 days sucked into a void that is Elden Ring, the video game. And I have spent...
I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
It's a great game. I mean, I like the Souls games anyway. I've been playing them on stream, but but that said, I haven't been playing them, you know, I don't, let's be real. There hasn't been an episode come out for the podcast in a couple weeks. And it's like, I took 3 days for myself because I haven't had any vacation time all year. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And then this afternoon, I was like, now we're working on band stuff and podcast stuff. So I worked on the press kit. I have so many fucking irons in the fire right now, man. You won't even believe it. I have this post-rock project I'm working on with our producer engineer, right? I have which he sent me tracks and he says, just play something. And I'm like, you want me to just play something? You know, like, you're not going to give me a lead sheet or anything. Like, he just wants me to kind of just put some ideas down, scribble down some ideas and assemble it out of ideas, I guess. But it's his personal project he's asking me to play on. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do this. On top of that, I've got 4 or 5 new tunes in the works for Destiny Unraveled. And then I had that gig with old Stumpy. And then like today it was press kit. I have the footage I got from the live stream we did back in December. And I chopped that all up and I made it like a band cut of it. And then I went through and redid the audio. And like, this is all stuff that's just been going on for the last couple of days. But today I was like, I need to get some actual work done. So I spent most of I was so engrossed. I meant to message you about the podcast, but I was so engrossed in what I was doing that I just completely forgot. I'm glad you reached out because I would have just been I would have like looked up and it would have been 10 p.m. and I would have been like, oh shit. So
it wouldn't have been too late. I got tomorrow off.
This is the post Christmas. What's new? So I have a very simple one and a very easy one. I got an actual metronome.
Hey.
Okay, so this is one from Amazon, right? Well, no. So I'll explain why I actually prefer this style metronome. But
I like those too.
So this came from Amazon. It was like, it had to be like $40. I think I put it in the car. I put it in the wish list or whatever. But it's so funny. It's from a brand called Uetetto. Uetetto, whatever. I don't know. But it looks like wood, right? That's fucking plastic.
Of course it is.
It's plastic as shit. But it's so funny because
it's quiet.
Well, it's not fully wound, so it's...
Oh, there we go.
But it sounds like plastic.
Yep. I would want the old ones that have kind of more of a, you know what I mean? It's
it's like a wood block.
Yes. That's it. That's what I was thinking of. A wood block where it's clack, clack, clack against a piece of wood.
This is still better. This is still better than an electronic beep. So I'll share why
I
this
hate
is on my
beeps.
list. So the electronic little clicks and the sampler clicks and all that stuff you can get that are like a wood block.
Yep.
They don't cut
They don't sound like a wood block.
They don't cut
They
it.
don't sound like a wood block.
Well, so here's the issue, right? With any of those metronomes, and I've got a little Korg one here on my desk somewhere. I don't know where it's at. But when you use like one of those style metronomes, they
Yep.
don't. It's very hard for you to cover up the metronome when you're playing in time because that beep is like a sine wave, so it just goes right through everything. And that's done because they use these tiny little speakers in those things,
Right.
and they want to make it cut through, because it's got to seem louder than it is.
Right.
And so I've used those for years, but I started using sample metronomes in the last couple of years, and I noticed that I preferred those. And I got to play around with a real metronome a while back, and I realized that I need to pony up and get an actual,
Yeah.
like something physical going on. And I
Yep.
know people are like, that's so crazy, like that doesn't make any sense. But when you've played around with them long enough, you'll start to realize that the analog metronomes are kind of, even though it's not perfect in terms of time alignment because your springs and stuff go in and out. It's more, I guess it's just it's a different style of training that your ear's locking into. It's not as hard on your ear, which is great. But the other thing is I can play that with my amp. Like some of these metronomes, they're so damn quiet. It's like, how are you supposed to even hear it when you're playing? This is loud enough when it's wound up
So,
that.
yeah, but the new type, and I'll say this is me. The new type, when you turn it up loud enough to hear it over the amp, you have to put it through the speakers or whatever.
Yeah.
It becomes an annoying click versus
Yeah.
a timing click. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. But
Well,
that's what it feels like to me.
I just have had better results with like a woodblock type sound, even if
Yep.
it's like the hierarchy is cheapo beepy metronome, sample based metronome, real metronome. Okay, that's the hierarchy of needs here. Like if you get to choose, you want the real one. Okay.
Right. And I'm a real metronome guy myself, and I like the woodblock sound.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's not bad. I just thought it was kind of funny. I didn't actually get a whole lot of Christmas guitar stuff for Christmas this year, and that's because my wife and I sort of had an agreement that I just buy this shit throughout the year anyway. Don't bother. We're taking the kids to Disney in February, so it's kind of like,
oh, nice.
It's kind of like, I don't want to spend any money that I don't have to right now. So that was the kids' Christmas gift. Was we're going to Disney. Actually, we're going to Disney and we're going to Universal. So we're going to with the one in California, Disneyland. I haven't been there since I was 5 years old. So it's been a long time. But yeah,
you're going to Disneyland. Oh, well.
Yeah, because we wanted to go to California. That was kind of thought process because there are other things to do there, and we knew that the park was going to be kind of. There's some things that are under repair right now in Orlando because of the hurricane that came through, and it's not clear when they'll be open. So if we're going in February, that's kind of an issue.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good plan. I've been to both, and I got to be honest with you, I like Florida better. But that's because, and even back then, it was just Epcot and Disney, and that was it. And we're talking early '80s.
Yeah, but it was new.
It was relatively new, yeah.
Whereas Disneyland's like a historic. Disneyland is like a historic monument. I mean, it's.
And I went to Disneyland only maybe, I don't know. My first time there was '83.
Yeah, it's all new since then because they basically rebuilt the whole damn park pretty much.
Yeah. Back when I went, there was a place called Knoxbury Farm right next door, which is, if you ever see the movie Vacation, that's the park. That's the Wally World that they're going to, is Knoxbury Farm. And I'll never forget watching them running. If you watch that scene, that was shot twice, by the way. Anybody who hasn't seen Vacation, the original Vacation, that scene with who's the guy that runs with Chevy Chase, the kid, who's now obviously a very full-grown adult.
You talking about Rusty? I don't know. Rusty. I don't know who played him in the first one.
The kid that played him, he was in The Breakfast Club too. He was the nerd in The Breakfast Club. Anyway, he what happened was the end of Vacation was shot. In the end of Vacation, Chevy Chase goes nuts and kills his family, kills everybody.
In the original, the original ending.
In the original ending, he shoots everybody, kills everybody. They thought that was a little too dark. I don't know why they think that. I know it's a guitar podcast. We're going to shut up. Just
no, this is important.
So they reshot it, but oh God, it comes. He has an A. His name is an A. IMDb that kid. Anyway, he was almost a year older when they shot it. And he was at that point when you grow like inches in that year. And he had braces that he lost. And he had his whole physique changes. And he's running next to Chevy Chase. And Chevy Chase, who was this much taller, is now only this much taller.
So I actually just Googled
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah. I just Googled this. Yep. So the rumor was that he killed everybody in the original ending. That's not the original ending. The original ending was they stormed Roy Wally's house. So the guy that Wally was, right? And then take him hostage and force him to entertain with song and dance, which is oddly reminiscent of Christmas Vacation's ending.
Yes.
Where they take his boss hostage. So
and then
I think that's kind of interesting. But they actually did make them go back and refilm it because they said that it was not.
It was too dark.
Having a kidnapping was a little bit unsympathetic.
Yeah, that was it. I knew it was something weird, and I did remember that once you said that was a rumor. That you shot him. And then of course they had what's his face played the guard, the security guard, and he was having a blast. Texas,
John Candy.
John Candy, fucking hilarious. If they didn't have that ending though, it wouldn't have been the same. It just was so much funnier to take John Candy by gunpoint and then stuff, and then finally he's like, woo! And it kind of did. They used that in South Park later. But anyway, my point is, what was I getting to? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just hilarious. That's all I care about. We were talking about something that went down that road. I completely forgot what it was.
Well, we were talking about what's new.
Oh, Disney, Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, Disney, so Knott's Berry Farm.
It was Knott's Berry Farm. And there was a little, now some people will tell me, Jim, it was like across the highway or something. There was a place where you could drive mini cars. And that's probably long gone. And we went to Anaheim Stadium and I watched the Angels play. And it's such that area of Anaheim is so chock full of stuff to do.
Yeah, that's kind of why
fun.
That's kind of why we wanted to go there rather than Florida, because I've been to Florida many a time, and it's the same thing. It's all Disney.
And they still had the world's largest wooden roller coaster. That's long gone. That's been torn down years ago for safety reasons. And it went forwards and backwards. And no, I did not ride it because I'm a pussy. So there you go. I was not a roller coaster person. My wife kind of had to John Candy me onto that roller coaster. She was like, "You're going on that roller coaster." When I finally went onto a roller coaster when it was in my 20s.
I'm not a big fan of them either. They just beat the shit out of you. Like when you're a kid, you're like, "This sounds like a good idea," but when you're an adult and you get off and you're just bruised as fuck, you're like,
"Oh yeah,
what the hell was I thinking?"
I used to call amusement parks not amusement parks.
Yeah, it's a place just to get beat up. I mean, it's like I could get in the ring or I could go to an amusement park.
But I don't know if people remember the day, and I don't know if it still happens, but it used to be a great place to find acts that were kind of up and coming.
Yeah.
And so you could see musical acts and stuff that were either on their way up or kind of on their way out. And I enjoyed going to see those musical acts. So that's kind of why I went to music park.
I'm taking the kids. That's just it, right? Okay,
well,
so
I'm glad.
So you got any what's news from Christmas season or?
It's in the other room, but I did get a bottle of Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Select for my birthday or for Christmas. That was delicious.
Nice. That sounds like the shit you get from work.
I literally got 2 Christmas gifts. There was that, which my daughter gave me, and I bought myself um, a glass from a place that we go to for lunch regularly, and it's Pop's Diner, which is down in Greenbrier area, and we go there all the time. And when I go to Pop's, so I got these three $10 things in it, but I only had to pay $25. So I saved myself $5 because we go there all the time. So I bought the glass and I saved $5. So I got a free glass and $5. So that's why I bought it. And I put it under the tree for myself. There were 2 items under the tree, and those were the 2 items. I bought my daughter a freaking military jacket that was several $100s because it was a military jacket.
Yeah.
Right? And I bought my son-in-law either a Columbia or a North Face.
Yeah, one of the fancy
that
ones.
He really liked. One of the nice ones because I had a coupon, which still cost a lot of money, but at least I had a coupon. So you felt like you're saving money because it was a lot of money because the thing was a lot of money. Then I went to Guitar Center, bought myself several packs of these because they were on sale. So
my stack is over there somewhere.
Yeah, and so I got the only reason they're right here is because I literally got them today and went to Guitar Center.
So let me ask you this: across because you have multiple scale length guitars now, are you running the same strings on all your guitars, or you've got like 9s for some and 10s for others? Okay.
Yeah, I run 9s on the longer scale guitars and 10s on the shorter scale guitars, and I'm going to be tuning down, so I had to buy more strings because we're tuning down a half step. And if we go a full step, I'll be okay with it because we're already half step, so I'll go a full step. So there's that. And then yeah, that's pretty much my what's new is really nothing's new. Oh, wait, I did buy myself something. Hang on.
He's always just bought himself something.
I forgot about this. What happened was I went to a friend's house for post-Christmas karaoke. And
right.
He couldn't find a tuner. It's a tuner.
It's not a tuner. It's not a tuner.
So I went out.
You got the Paul Reed Smith tuner?
And I bought a PRS. The rechargeable PRS. You can see the plastic is still on the thing. I bought a PRS tuner. Oh no, the plastic is not on there. That's just the way it was shining. I bought a PRS redo tuner and then gave him one of my Snarks. Because
Snarks are awful.
Because Snarks don't use rechargeable. The new ones are rechargeable. You know what's funny?
That's one reason for them to be considered awful. Yes, they do not have a rechargeable battery.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
Another is accuracy.
There's that. So I have two tuners that are rechargeable, a Fender and the Paul Reed Smith. And what's funny is I get those. This is one of my Snarks. And I don't have to replace the battery, which is bad for the environment. Ergo, Snarks are more expensive than a rechargeable PRS tuner. Snarks have gone up to like either the same price, $30, or more, $40. This is rechargeable.
And they don't track, the Snarks don't track any better.
No. So get a rechargeable one. Look at the difference in display, physical difference in display.
Well, and one is also super bright. The Paul Reed Smith tuner is ridiculous. It's very bright. It is one of the fastest tracking tuners you can buy.
Yep. I had no problem spending my money.
It's no frills for sure. I mean, it's a tuner, but I'm rocking I get the Peterson Strobo clip, and I've also got it doesn't track. Mine doesn't track as well. No, I heard other people say mine tracks great. So I don't know. I mean, your mileage may vary.
Yeah, I have to tweak. Ding, ding, ding. Wait for it to come in. But obviously on stage I'm using
Yeah, I have that as well. Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to order they came out with the limited edition,
who cares?
Well, I was going to get another one, and they were coming out with a limited edition for my desk for doing guitar work, and but they were coming out with a limited edition birthday version or anniversary version or something. I thought, oh, that'd be cool. I'll get one.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not spending more just because it's a different color scheme.
Yeah,
that's not happening. It's a tuner. I step on it. I am not buying one.
I don't understand that level of horse shit today, where companies want to come out with a special limited edition version, whatever. We definitely are. We definitely are tonight. This title of the episode is "Things Are Not As They Appear." None of the topics accurately describe what we'll be talking about. Let's just be very, very clear and upfront that the titles du jour that you see to the left are not what we will be discussing in relative terms.
They're very vague in the description.
So are we ready to go on to the first topic?
I am ready.
All right. So let's talk about the best gear of 2022.
Right.
Fuck
I am
off.
Ready. Who gives a shit? I mean, seriously, who gives a shit? I mean, every time you say, well, there's no innovation in guitars, somebody's going to come out and go, but this one came out with a headless guitar, or but this one came out with and I'm like, first of all, headless guitars have been being done for decades, folks, unless you never heard of Steinberger. And you know, all these tuning systems have been being done for years. All this stuff, built-in effects, those were done decades ago, back in the 60s.
Jim, why does anybody care about what comes out in a particular year? Because the vast majority of guitar players are searching for vintage shit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Or special editions.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about. Oh my God, Paul Reed Smith is releasing the Silver Sky in asshole brown. So we've got to go get
it. Did Mayer pick that one out himself?
I don't know. I mean, it's a possibility. And it comes with a scratch and sniff pad. I mean, I'll leave the what it looks like to your imagination. But I mean, it's like you know, I get to this point, and I think to myself, geez, how many special editions can we fall for that are the same shit in a different package? I mean, as it is, I know somebody's going to first say, well, Jim, you do have 2 Klon clones. I also have 2 pedal boards, people. And sometimes I don't even bring a pedal board. Matter of fact, one of my Klon clones is, believe it or not, in a lunchbox. Because what it's for, because it was the Centavo, it's just to bring to like an open mic. I plug it in between my guitar and my amp, so that because it's not my amp, somebody else's amp, and I can get a decent, I say, give me a clean tone, I'll take it from there. And so I have my own overdriven tone, and I can ride my volume on my guitar, and I can go from there. So I don't want to take my tumbless and go off the board and go through all that stuff. So yes, I do have more than one, and I do have more than one Keeley compressor, but one sits at the end of one board, one sits at the end of the other board, and they do the exact same job. So what blows my mind is that that it's not just once in a while. I mean, everybody's got something they collect. Everybody's got something they put away, right? Look at all these Funko Pops up there. Do I really need Slash standing above one of the Les Pauls? No. But the thing that I'm getting at here is this. It's like, is there a point where people will finally start saying, and I think it's happening, where people are going to start saying, you know what, I'm not buying into this bullshit anymore. And today was the first time, and I'm going to take and go outside of this for a second and come back, kind of like I did with the movie here just a second ago. So, the company that does Wizards of Things or something like that does Magic the Gathering cards.
Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast. Thank you. So Wizards of the Coast was churning out all these cards. They were like, look at this. Look at shiny new. It's so different. And then people were like, so they finally went, these cards are not for you. They literally put it on there. And how many times have you heard a YouTube channel or some company go, you don't like it? It's not for you. Don't, And here's what's funny. The people who buy them were like, well, fuck you. We don't want them anymore then. And so they stopped buying them for a while. So then they decided, well, to make up their money, they said, let's put together a collector's edition of the original sets and sell them, and people will buy them.
Yeah,
guess
that
where
was
they priced
quite
them?
a while ago. Yeah, they were expensive.
They were $1,000 for like a set.
So if you guys think collecting guitars is insane, if you play Magic the Gathering and you have a first edition Black Lotus card, it's worth several $100,000. And there are people that own multiple of them. And it's that's what part of the reason why that set got reissued was because you can't even use those cards because they just don't exist.
Yep.
So
the Black Lotus, the original edition, they mentioned that one. That's where they were kind of.
Yeah, that's the most famous Magic card.
$100,000.
Yeah, I think it's $400K.
Because it was the only one that was a 10 out of a 10 out of the gaming card rating system. Which, like, how well it's centered and all this other stuff. I'm like, that was me watching it. I was just like, you've got to be shitting me. But that exists. I mean, I've been in the collector's world. I know. But I thought to myself, wow, that is just crazy. But I also think that any collector's world at a certain point goes crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're sitting in the middle of it right now where people are buying mass produced guitars for $20 plus $1,000.
This is $50,000 Gibson Hammett Greenlee more. So here's and those are on the aftermarket already at $80,000. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't give you $10,000 for that guitar.
Well, you're not buying it for Hammett's name.
Yeah, you're definitely not. But you're not buying it for their name. They weren't even alive when it was created.
I was watching somebody the other day. Oh, I think it was Slash. I think Slash did he did Gibson TV back in the summer.
Yep.
And it was funny because it goes along with your conversation here. They asked him, because he's got a lot of reproductions of actual guitars he owns. And they asked him about the Joe Perry reproduction, because he's got Joe Perry's 59, right?
That's right. Well, he did.
I think he still has it. I'm pretty sure he does.
I thought that was the one he gave back to him. I could be wrong.
No, I don't think he gave it back. I think he still got it. But he doesn't play it out anymore, obviously. Duh. And he's got a reproduction. And he let it slip in the conversation that the reproduction is not identical to the original. It does not sound the same as the original. And I think that's very, very telling for all these people buying these guitars thinking, this is the closest I can get to getting the real deal. Hey, guess what? You're still not there.
It's like getting a copy of the Black Lotus.
Yeah. It's it's as close as you're going to get. I think that's an even sillier argument because I think there's something materially different about the function. Whereas with the Black Lotus, it would be something that's materially different about the aesthetics.
The aesthetic, right? Exactly. But what I get, so the Greenie Moore, right? The Greenie Moore, the reproductions. They're in a single person, with the exception of possibly Kirk Hammett, maybe David Gilmour, a couple, people like that, who can say, yeah, I played the Greenie Moore, and these are just as good.
And does it matter to us? Because that's at the end of the day, you're not going to use that to track your EP in your basement.
No, it's going to hang in glass in a collector's room. If it doesn't sit in a case, in a vault.
Yeah. So back to the gear of 2022, because that's really what this is about. So everybody in the media does, and I'm not just talking about YouTubers. I want to make it real clear. We all know the
Right.
YouTubers do it.
That's
and
right.
It's obvious they're the easy target. But
Yep.
the magazines do it too, right? Where they go, this is the best gear of 2022. In other words, stuff that came out in 2022.
Cars.
Yeah, but I want to talk about guitars. Because I remember this when I was a kid, getting Guitar World, sitting in study hall reading Guitar World and flipping through the magazine and seeing the best of and going, okay. And having sort of the same attitude I have right now about it, which is that, well, we're not buying this stuff because it's new and innovative. That's never been a thing in guitar. I mean, not since 1950 something when the Telecaster came out, were people buying things because they're new and innovative. I mean, the innovations that have come to guitar had to be championed by someone very famous in order to get any real traction. And then even then, they still sort of remain fringe items. I mean, most people today are not buying Floyd Rose-equipped guitars.
Right.
They're not buying 7-strings, which is why that makes up about and believe me, I know, because I have my 7-string thing. That makes up less than 5% of the guitars produced. Less than that. It's got to be lower than that. 5% of the models. Okay, it's and then even fewer production numbers. And when you start to realize that the best new thing is like a clone, and you go, what? This already exists. Why is this the best new? Because this is Robert Keeley's version. Or I'm picking on him, but this is Robert Keeley's version of the clone. And you're going, guys, this isn't. I mean, so there are some exciting things that came out this year. That Halo delay comes to mind, which I know somebody who got one for Christmas. Good on you. And that's not an innovative design, but I could see that being something that people would actually desire. But do we care? Because here I'm going to lay it on you, Jim. I'm going to lay it on you. Can you tell me the best new gear item of 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017? No. So what the fuck? Why does this matter? Who cares?
That's exactly right. It is, regardless of the format of the quote unquote news. The fact is, it's just a way to get more ways to, hey, let's talk about this. Let's get this out there, because I've got to fill the algorithm, whatever that algorithm is, whether it's, believe it or not, it was newsstands and selling copies at newsstands, or it's YouTube putting your channel in front of people, or your individual videos in front of people. I'm looking at these things. I'm like, I don't click on them, but I look and I go, that thing had 3.4 thousand views in an hour.
Yeah.
Who was clicking that? Who didn't know that a guitar came out this year, or that a pedal did? If you really were interested in the gear, you would have known it when it came out, not when somebody said it was the best of that year. Who gives a shit what they think is the best thing that came out that year?
It's just a ridiculous marketing tactic is what it is.
It is.
I mean, either the media company is using it to market themselves, because it's like, well, here I'm an authority on this,
right?
Which no, you're not. I mean, there are some people, and I won't go into specifics, but there are some people that I trust their opinions on certain things, because they know that stuff really well. And then there are other people that have just got a camera and they're uploading shit on YouTube, or they got a blog site or something, or it's the same thing we says on the gear page or Facebook groups, where you go in and somebody says, I sold my Bogner Ecstasy to buy a Katana 100, and it's everything I'd ever dreamed of. You're an idiot. If you think I'm going to believe you, you have zero credibility.
Right. I've been seeing more and more, and not that I think that people are lying by any stretch of the imagination, but I've been seeing more and more where channels are, this is the Fender Stratocaster killer, and this is the the Les Paul killer, and this is the SG killer, and this is the Telecaster killer.
That's another marketing tactic.
And it's like,
that's been around for a long time too.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, again, cars, whatever. You could say this is the Mustang killer, this is the Camaro killer. I mean, the Camaro was supposed to be the Mustang killer, and the Mustang's supposed to be the Camaro killer. I mean, the point is that it's like, can some of these folks come up with some like new ideas to give? I mean, it's like I think to myself, give me something new. Give me something I haven't seen 45,000 times. We did this very same thing. I said this very same thing 2 years ago or so, where I said, I am not going to get excited about another effing reverb, another fucking echo or a delay pedal. I'm not getting excited about another. I mean, it's just like, oh, here it comes. This is the best clone ever. It's better than the last clone that came out that was better than that one. And every year, Fender's like, we've got pickups that are better than the last year. And Gibson's doing the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing.
Things can be
closer to the 58 than we've ever been in our entire lives.
Things can be noticeably better. So like the PRS TCI pickups, and we've been going back and forth on that. I do think those are noticeably better. But does that mean that like you should prefer to get that over whatever other? That's like, I don't know. Should you? That's a personal decision.
I can say this: the TCI pickup. That's a great mention. The TCI pickup is probably the most innovative thing in pickups I've seen in a long time.
I mean,
probably since EMG. And the
Fishman.
And Fishman. But Fishman is not that new. I'm just saying.
No, Fishman's 7 or 8 years old now. Yeah.
Yeah. TCI is maybe 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
But the point is that the TCI is at least innovative. You can split that coil and not lose volume and not lose.
That's not the TCI that causes that. There's a resistor that's actually inside the control layout that actually allows that to happen. They actually are automatically curbing some of the volume loss on the humbucker side of it, if I understand how exactly how it functions.
So that it stays right.
Which makes sense. It's actually a really logical way to approach the problem. But the TCI thing is the tuning process.
Tuning, right.
Where they're looking for a resonant note inside the pickup itself by selecting the correct materials and stuff and winding it a certain way and being able to reproduce that process, and then to be able to use the like a higher, it's basically a higher tolerance magnet and that kind of stuff. So that's what gets me, is what TCI really is just them like being very, very anal about quality control. That's basically what it is. Whereas no one else can do that because PRS is going to charge you $500 for those pickups.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's basically how Paul has done everything, which is there's no magic to anything that Paul's done on his guitars. He just does better quality control than everybody else.
Right.
So,
and can I talk to one more innovation before we go that unfortunately didn't last? That was Parker guitars.
Yeah.
Parker guitars were one of the most innovative.
They were on those best of lists back in the mid 90s.
The things that people complained about the most: weight, sound, playability. All of it was there. Parker, they weren't perfect.
Except for reliability.
Yeah. Incredibly good guitars. Unfortunately, now if you buy one, you have no parts. No.
Yeah.
You are fucked if that thing goes bad. But the point is that I'm making, I know a few Parker players locally. The Parkers that I've seen and touched and played were incredible. And they weighed nothing.
The good ones, not the later imports.
I'm not talking about the imports, right? That was when they were trying to save money, and
that's when Washburn owned them.
Yeah, but again, it's perfect. It goes back to what you were talking about earlier: is that guitar players don't want anything innovative. They don't want anything new. Want the same old shit packaged in another color. And that's why the Ship Brown PRS Silver Sky is going to be a top seller this year.
I just don't think so. Here's my logical argument about all this is that I just don't think that this industry really lends itself to a year by year refresh cycle that actually means anything.
Maybe
so like
maybe 5 or 10 years.
So like you don't see this going on in the PC world because that stuff changes every 6 months. So nobody's gonna argue that a 2070 RTX, which is what I have in my machine here, is better than a 3070 or a 4070. Okay.
Right.
You'd have to be high because it just doesn't make sense. But in the guitar world, this Les Paul versus this Les Paul, it's a totally subjective conversation.
That's exactly right.
And it doesn't matter. It could even be the same generation. And I had this conversation with somebody I know just recently who actually works in the industry. And we were talking about the fact that like, here, let's take 2 off-the-shelf guitars, whatever they want to be. You want them PRS, Les Paul, Strats, whatever. And how appreciably different they are. And not just like they used a different piece of wood, obviously, right? But like the workmanship, even the neck and how flat it is, right? Like how much they plane that neck and how good the work is and how accurate the work is a major determining factor between 2 guitars. But it doesn't matter whether it's 2021 or 2022. You get a good one or you don't, okay? And as far as the electronics go, this is the silliest argument to me because here we are guitarists know that everybody buys a guitar and the first fucking thing they do before they even play it is pull the pickups out. So it's like, what difference does it make? I mean, this is literally the stupidest way for the industry to latch on to marketing to people. Look at our new one. Look at our new one. That's exactly like the older with a new housing. Like, who cares? Really? Who cares? That's when you proposed this topic, I actually didn't want to talk about it because I was like, who cares? Like, honestly, I'm just at a point in my maybe I'm getting to be an old man telling people to get off my lawn or something. But I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I've never felt this way about new gear that's like, oh, well, this is the new latest and greatest. Now, here's the bombshell I'm gonna drop on you, Jim. That's only true until you're talking about digital gear. Yeah. And you can talk about so I'm sure someone would make the argument that you could do that in a yearly refresh cycle. But even digital gear isn't really yearly. Okay.
Not in our world.
But if they wanted to do like an innovation section or like what's hot, that makes sense. But to be like best of 2022, Quad Cortex wins because it's the only new amp modeler this year.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know that was a 2021 product, but
I was talking to somebody today. They said this is the hottest day of the year. It's also the coldest day of the year, and it's also the best day of the year or the worst day of the year because it's the first day of the year.
Yeah, I mean it's a non-starter. So I don't know. I think it's the silliest marketing scheme ever. For magazines and media companies and gear companies to do that, where it's like, this is the best gear of 2022.
Yeah, and I will say that I've got mine right here that they did say, oh, there it is. It was in the shot anyway. That the PRS Silver Sky was the top selling.
That's a whole other conversation about the top selling stuff, which we could potentially do in a later episode.
That's popularity.
Well, not. I mean, so top selling could be a number of different things drawing that. Number one is price, right? Yep. Which is why the Silver Sky SE is doing so damn well.
Right.
But I believe both it and the full price one rounded out the top 10 of the Reverb sales.
It's funny because you can bet your butt, and we talked about it when I first got this. When those came out, the other ones were selling hot too. Because people were like, oh, I like this one. I'll probably love the other one. I like this entry level Mercedes. I'd love the SE model or the S model.
Yeah, but I think that from what I've heard, it sounds like the Silver Sky SE is not only the best selling model since its release, and I think it came out in February, right? It's the best selling.
Yep.
It's the best selling PRS ever. Period.
Yeah,
Ever.
I believe it.
Out
I
of
believe
all of the models, and that's per price, per because they have statistics that compare. It's like if you're Paul and you're sitting at a board meeting with the rest of the people, right? Your financial people are going to be giving you sales figures that are like, okay, you make this. This is how profitable the core line is, and this is how profitable the SC line is. And when I'm talking about the line, I mean all the guitars they sold that year. Who's making, which line is making more money? You'd think the cores probably have more wiggle room built into them because they're a higher price guitar, and they do, I'm sure. But from what I heard, the SE actually made more money than all of the core model stuff combined. And
I can believe that.
Someone told me that.
The mind.
Someone told me that it was like, how do we repeat this? Because it was an eye opener.
Yeah, Paul did a fireside chat with his two top dogs, the president and the current COO, Jack Higginbotham or something.
Higginbotham, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they were talking, and Paul even said, he said, I was still floored by the fact that that was the first time I don't remember how many units. He says it in there, and it was an astronomical number. Sold the first day. They were gone day one.
They sold that entire first shipment of guitars out before they hit shelves.
Yep.
And that's an import line. So stop and think about that for a minute. They sold out a line of undesirable guitars immediately. Like when you stop and you scratch your head about that a little bit, you realize they didn't buy 1,000 of them. They bought enough to get them through the year in that first shipment, and they blew them out when they launched.
Yep.
And now, of course, then they gone back and they doubled down and gotten 3 or 4 times that. But because you can get them, you can walk into Guitar Center right now and find an SC. So,
some Guitar Centers. Sweetwater's completely out, or they were the other day.
Well, yeah, but that's because of the Christmas rush, Jim. That's not.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, they were.
I know CME had a bunch of them in.
CME had them.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is that they and I was shocked at the most popular colors. Let's see, they got the blue ones back in stock.
Yeah, the most popular colors were the ones that I didn't like.
Yeah, it's funny because the color I have, which is the moon white, I think they're going to do away with that. I think they're doing away with the moon white and the dragon fruit.
Yeah, it's funny because the dragon fruit actually looks pretty good in person.
Yeah.
The one I see a lot of is the stone blue and the evergreen. Yep. The evergreen is my pick.
Yeah. They got some stone green. Those are the two popular colors, the evergreen and the stone blue, I believe. And so anyway, the moon white went on a discount in some places. And the dragon fruit went on discount. I get the feeling those are going to be your first two replaced colors, which means that they'll go from being unpopular to popular again because all of a sudden people are going to want them in the used market because you can't get them.
Well,
I mean, that's what happens.
It'll be interesting to see what John picked as for colors because his agreement with PRS basically says he gets to choose colors.
Oh, I'm sure.
He gets to design the colors, not just choose them, but design them, which is like why we ended up with these weird colors for the SE line.
Which I thought was a strange set of colors.
Yeah. Well, that was everybody's sort of gut reaction. So I bet we get an actual Olympic white now. Yep. Probably, and I would suspect something more red. We might even get like a big like an apple red, instead of the dragon fruit color, which is fine. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes out. Yep. I know that PRS has sent out some information about their new stuff for this year. I know that we're not at liberty to discuss it yet.
Nope. I have, like you, I have some inside information I'm not allowed to share yet.
I don't have much. I don't have much, but I know it's available.
I do know one that I can share because it's already public information. That's the Paul Reed Smith SE DGT.
Yeah,
that's coming. And I have one on pre-order. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and finalize purchase. I at least have it on hold. They're coming out with a gold one that'll have. This is the thing. I'm going to say two things because we talk about that hype train. So PRS did 3 videos that they released in like 2-week stints.
Yeah, I watched all 3.
Yeah, I watched them, and they were informative. But I'm gonna say I called bullshit right away on the third one with David Grissom with a guitar, and I'm gonna tell you why I think that I'm like, oh no, bullshit.
But
so I'll tell you in a second. So they released number 1. They're like, ooh, look, we're we're working with it, and of course everybody knew what it was gonna be. But the 2 colors are gold top with moons and like a trans or 3-tone sunburst type thing, a burst type thing with the birds, because you got to have birds for some people. And he had his first one was a gold top with the moons. He preferred the moon inlays. Anyway, so this is what I found funny. So on the third video, he gets it in and he opens it up and he's like, "Wow, I've got it right next to my other one, and I can barely tell the difference." I'm like, dude, you're looking at one that has recessed controls. There's like it's like recess at the top. You obviously like those recesses because they don't do it for all models. You liked that about that. You had that put in there. That is not in the SE line. You're not incapable of feeling that difference right away and seeing that difference like right there. So
I thought he was referring to the neck shape.
Yeah, the neck shape, we'll see. I mean, I'm gonna get one in my hands, I hope, and then I'll see if I like it.
I don't know if I've ever played the real deal. So
yeah,
wouldn't make a difference to me.
Yeah, I got to try it out. I liked it, but $4,000 to $5,000 is a lot of money for one of those. So.
Yeah, well, I still think the best guitar in their lineup is the one I own. So I think the CA is the CE, even though it's got a thinner body on it. I think the thinner body, because a lot of people have said, well, that was to save money. I think the thinner body is actually more to be like a traditional, Fender-y style guitar, because it does have a mahogany body. I think they decided to lighten it by doing that. But anyway, let's go on to the next topic. So
let's move on. Let's go to the next topic.
The next topic that is mysterious to our listeners. The next topic is called "Don't Show Us Your Collection," and this is prompted by the people that feel it necessary to show off every single item that they own. And Jim and I, we're laughing because I think there's been some people online specifically who are starting out as new in the YouTube guitar community stuff specifically that have prompted this, but I actually want to take it in a step further as we go through the topic. But we've seen a trend of a lot of people being like, look at all my stuff. And it's people that are like, they're not even really, they don't have any viewers or anything, but it's like, I got to show off what I have. And they can't play. I know who we're talking about, Jim. I know who we're talking about.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah. He can't really.
6 rooms full of shit that he can't play well. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, and then like the amplifier situation in that one video was like atrocious. It was like, you've got all this stuff, but you're playing through crap. Like, and not that you would be able to appreciably tell the difference. Because let's be real. When you first start playing guitar, you're not going to know the difference between tonality from somebody that's like been playing for quite a while, or like put a lot of time behind the instrument. They're going to be able to make decisions about tone that you're just not even going to be aware of. Right. So like I can remember, all right, let's go back in the Wayback Machine for a second. The Zoom 5052, the silver one, I had one. And I remember one day I plugged my Ibanez SM7 into that, and I put it on some like high gain lead sound, right? So I just had all this fucking distortion, and it was like all this goddamn noise. And I was playing, and I had headphones on, and I was like, fuck yeah, this sounds so good. And I could remember saying that because I was like, I just learned how to play Talking About Love, and I was like, oh, we'll play that song, and it was like, yeah, it sounds like Van Halen. Now, if you are familiar with either of those two items, you know that it sounds nothing
like Van Halen. You aren't even fucking close.
And I could also remember doing recordings and being like, wow, this sound is super great. And I've listened to those recordings since and been like, holy shit, what was I smoking?
Oh man, how bad was that? Man, I've had that next day. Let me say this. So there was one channel, and I don't want to call out the name of the channel.
No, don't.
I'm not. But I'm going to say this so that, and I know what one you're thinking of, but it ain't that one. So there was this one channel where the guy, because I'll shout out that channel's name. The six rooms were full of stuff that he doesn't.
No, you should. Well. We should take the high road on that.
Right, but this guy, it's like he's supposedly really good, right? And I'm like, okay, because he comes across like, yeah, I track guitar for blah blah blah. Okay, and then every single fucking video he did the videos. He goes, this one when I tried this one, and I tried this one, and he was like, here's the X guitars that I thought were good in this category, and this category, and this category, and it was like, so he goes, and here's the guitar. So he did the 5 guitars, right? In each one, and then he picked one. And it was like, and then the next one,
same riff. Yeah.
And then the next one, no, it's not just the same riff. They sounded identical. I was like, all right, maybe I did something wrong. I put it in my studio speakers. I was like, okay, so you know how to, what did I say? It was like because it was like, it was like crickets, like 10,000 crickets going through a distortion thing. I'm like, oh God, what the fuck are you thinking?
That was an Ibanez SM7 with a Zoom 505 too.
Yeah, and he's got a wall of really not like Soldano and this all the like Rev and everything, because every YouTuber that's over 10,000 subscribers has got a Rev.
They got 3 or 4.
Yeah, you gotta have them.
They never use them, but they have them.
Nope, but they got them. Actually, probably that's what they use the most, because Rev gives them that, and then the interface and their software and everything else, and they're good to go. But my point is that I'm thinking they all sounded identical. I'm like, that and it wasn't like he said, this one I like the neck better, or I like the no, they were identical shapes, identical. And I'm like, they sound the same. And it harkened me back to that video I made where I'm like, yeah, these are, 7 guitars that nothing alike, but here they are through an over distorted sound, and they sound exactly the same. My guitars sounded different than his. I'm like, how could you get that much distortion in there? And so, you know how we always say a bag of bees. Like I said, it was like crickets, because it was just this mind-blowingly fast, but not like this fast. I'm talking about one chord, and then of course the obligatory false harmonic.
Oh, yeah.
Every freaking time they do it,
you gotta do some pings.
Oh, I'm like, oh my God, it's like a traffic accident just happened. I'm like, but the least, I mean, I get that you like that music and that's fine, but for sake, make them sound different. Give me something I can grasp that makes them sound. In the room, they might have sounded completely different, but in the recordings, nothing sounded different. Well, that's what blew my mind.
Well, this is why I agreed to talk about this topic tonight.
And that was a collection.
Any of you guys and gals listening, and yeah, just think about it from this perspective. If you go out and you play out, right? And you go to
Right.
clubs and you do the open mic thing and you network in your scene and you meet people. The last thing that happens is you walk into a club, you shake somebody's hand when you're on stage with them, and they go, "I've got 4 Les Pauls at home. I've got a brown sunburst. I've got a lemon burst. I have a red one, and I have a blue one." Like, that doesn't happen, okay? And it doesn't happen because musicians aren't collectors, okay?
They don't care.
They don't care. They got the tool for the job, okay? Now, I'm into gear, so when I'm at an open jam, I might be looking and be like, is that an Epiphone or Gibson? Like, right. But I'm just looking.
But I'm
like,
not right. I'm
it's just being curious, right?
Right.
And I might ask, but it's like, it would be in the context of, that guitar sounded really good, right? Like, I want to know what you got. Because I'm always interested in what sounds good. And there's a difference between that and somebody like, what YouTube is, or any of these other social media sites, because this doesn't just happen on YouTube. This happens on Facebook. It happens on the Gear page and whatever else, where people feel that necessary to share what they own. I remember back in the day when you'd go on the Gear page or Harmony Central, and people's signature blocks would be filled with what they currently owned. And
oh my God,
you remember that?
I forgot about that. It was like, and some people would have a list like longer than you could read.
Yeah.
It's like, and they would always leave like a comment, "Fuck yeah," or something like that. And it would be like, Robo player. And then they'd have like, line 6 this and line 6 that, and line 6 this. And then they'd have Ibanez, Gibson, Epiphone, PRS. And it's like, holy shit. Where do you put it all?
Yeah.
I've got an 11 by 11 room.
This
is where it all has to fit.
Jim, there was a thread on that one time where they asked a guy who had 500 items, like, where do you store it all? And that was the name of the thread. And it was a long time ago. I think it was in Harmony Central. And the guy the guys, but there was one guy in particular who had like 75 guitars. He posted a picture of all these cases, and it was in like a room like your size, but it was literally case to case along the wall, and like the thin way, just leaned straight up and down all the way against the wall. I was like, how do you even know what's in them?
And they do this. They take the electrical tape or the masking tape there, and they put the name on the masking tape. That's what a lot of the pros do.
Yeah, but then you open the case and you realize, well, fuck, this isn't the guitar that's supposed to be in there.
Oh,
I gotta open all 75 other cases.
That was me remember when you have CDs and you bring them in a car, and then you're like, oh, I got to put that. So you take one out. And you're like, oh shit, I don't have the case for that. So you put the wall in like ABBA's greatest hits or something.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you got disc 1 for the wall and ABBA's greatest hits. You got ABBA's greatest hits in disc 1 of the wall.
What a hell of a combo!
And that's my listening experience. But I have to laugh at you. You just reminded me of how funny that is. So I've been trying to think of a way, because I don't know if it's in the shop, but there's all my hard cases are right there. Okay. My Gibson, actually one is missing because Saul is in the house. But
just stack them up. So, you've got the Gibson molded hard cases instead of the universal cases, so they don't stack neatly. Exactly. Because those are such a brilliant idea.
They go like this. So instead of them going like, they go like this. Because you can't stack them up unless you like flip them over or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why you see everybody who has those cases stores them on end to end, and they don't have 2 rows unless there's a shelf.
I actually had them like round side going against the wall, and it in other words, kind of like you know how they do this, like they get fat on one end and thin on the other, and so I had them like opposing each other. At least that way I could stack 2 on top of each other. But they had to go this way, which is up and down. And the only one that's an oddball out is the freaking Rickenbacker case, which could stack, but I don't have anything to stack on it, I should say, because nothing else is flat like that. So I have all these cases, and I said to my son, I said, I've got to put a freaking thing out in the garage to put these cases in because it's driving me bananas. I don't have. I don't want all. I need my cases to carry them. Because the SG doesn't fit in the Les Paul case,
right?
And the 335 doesn't. And
so just get universal cases, Jim.
I have
get one universal case, and then put the others into storage.
The 335 is the only one that I probably can't, but the other ones can fit in universal cases. So what I want to get down to is I have one Les Paul case and the 335 case, and that'll be it. And the PRS goes in a bag, and the Telecaster can go in a Les Paul case, or it could go in a freaking whatever case because it fits. It fits well enough. But the point is, and I usually just bring it in the PRS bag because, to be honest with you, it's a fucking Telecaster. It's a a cutting board with a neck. But I look at these. You were talking about that. So the one guy that had the 6 rooms full of stuff he couldn't play. You know what? The one thing he didn't show was his amps and his interface to his thing. That's what we hear, folks. No one is interested in your 75 guitars. Well, there might be 3 people.
No. There are people that are definitely interested in guitars. I'm not going to say that, but the majority of what you're going to hear comes from the amp and the pedals.
Right. And that's what people want to know. What is going in there? Is it your Spark?
I need to know so I don't buy
it. Yeah. Is it your amp into a 2 notes or an aux? I mean, what is going in there? Into your computer. And I think that's more important, at least to most people, at least to me, is what am I actually hearing? And I think that's why there's a big lie when it comes to amps. And you know who proved it was the big lie? I had to love it. JHS blew its doors off.
We should have talked about that tonight. We're going to talk about that regardless. Yeah, it's not on the sheet, but we have to talk about that on the show.
I need to give you some time on this topic. I've been running my freaking mouth.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of things you said have been great. I mean, the inconvenience of it is interesting. I think I can't get past the fact that, like, as a player, having 10 Les Pauls doesn't excite anyone. I mean, it might. Like from a gear perspective, it might excite someone, but like it doesn't make you play any better. Who cares?
Hey, you got 5 rooms worth of Les Pauls, then it excites somebody. And I have to give him credit because he said, you know what? I think this is the last time I'm going to do it. He said it took me 5 hours to set this up to do, this shot. And
if it took you 5 hours to set it up, there's some problems because. It don't take me that long to set something up, but it's.
I'm going to show everybody my collection. Are you ready? There you go. All right. You saw it. Okay. The Rickenbacker is in its case. The Tell is in its case. There you go.
Show's over, folks.
You guys want to see at least one of my amps and
show's over.
Rig? There you go.
Show's over, folks.
And you can look at a Kemper online. Mine looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
All right. I mean that's it. I got such a simple setup.
Let's talk about Josh Scott for a minute before we go on to the next topic. I'm going to actually turn the topic indicator off. We're off the books, folks.
That's it. We're going rogue.
So Josh dropped that bombshell that he's been using the Kemper for the last year instead of the Loud is More Good. And I'm not shocked. I mean, I honestly kind of laughed. I got a chuckle out of it because I was like, oh, people are going to be pissed about this. And they have been. Which is what's really funny. So the majority of the people in the video weren't like negative commenters, but if you troll the internet deep enough, you will come across hives of scum and villainy. the likelihood that no one has ever seen.
They were so butthurt. Oh my God.
How dare he? And it's so funny because it's like he's been misleading us and he's trying to get us to buy his profiles. And maybe he's actually using the Loud is More Good and telling people he's using a Kemper. Which, by the way, if you have seen, you can see the Kemper in the videos. Like, if you've been watching, there's a Kemper sitting there, and it's on.
He didn't hide it.
I know. That's why I'm like, I don't understand why people can't accept that he was using a Kemper for a year. I mean, it makes perfect sense for his use case.
You know why I'm not pissed off, but I am pissed off? Because that whole time I'm thinking, oh, those pedals would sound like shit with my Kemper.
No.
Oh my God, no! They'd sound great.
So that's
now I gotta.
But that's
like,
but that's one of the problems that I think. We'll get into that in a second because that's like a separate thing. So anyway, all these people get butthurt, right? But then the pro Kemper guys are like, "See, told you," and they're kind of wrong too. And I'll tell you, Jim, you can comment on this because you're our current Kemper owner.
Yeah.
They're kind of wrong in the sense that, yeah, see, told you, but they're not acknowledging the fact that, like, number one, this is the perfect scenario to use a Kemper. Number two is that he's not relying on the built-in effects.
That's right.
He's basically just using it for the amp modeling side of it.
That's right.
You're not hearing.
He's profiling his amp the way he would have set it up to then put the pedal into.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Right. With his preamps and stuff, and that signal path is vitally important. So, Jim, have you played around with any of this stuff on the Rig Exchange for Kemper?
Yeah.
Okay, so the freebie profiles on Kemper are very hit or miss, are they not? And that's because some people don't have any fucking clue what they're doing with their amplifier.
Just like the freebie, I got to be honest with you. Just like the freebie profiles, well, they're not called profiles, but patches for
the presets,
Helix, for whoever.
Well, I mean, you can learn to dial your own.
I mean, the Katana ones.
Yeah.
What I love is somebody who goes, I need this Stevie Ray Vaughan tone from this section of the solo during this song, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, can you tell me anything about your rig, your capabilities as a player?
Yeah.
I'm like, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I stepped in.
Yeah, no, so like I said, he's really got the perfect storm for the Kemper. And it's a recording only environment. He can model he already has a really, really good signal path to record with. So it's easy enough to just insert the Kemper into that signal path and get a really good profile. I did want to point some stuff out though. So he didn't use a quad Cortex. And our good buddy HW did the profile. So he created all of the profiles for JHS, basically for Josh, because they're Josh's personal amps.
HW, right? HW was on our show.
Yeah, he was
a really good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. In fact, I just talked to him the other day. I was asking him some questions about train wrecks because I know he's got one. So, but it's interesting that the community gets so divided over this. It's like the Tonewood debate all over again because Josh is simplifying his workflow. Now, I will say, here's where I have questions about this because in my experience, the Kemper didn't really have good headroom. You couldn't slam it with an intense amount of preamp gain without getting the front end to distort. So I kind of wonder, so many of the pedals that Josh looks at are dirt pedals, right? Like, what is he doing? How is he making that work? Is he running with a pad? I think he is. I think he's got a pad because I know the Kemper has a pad built into it.
Yep.
But in my experience, it didn't sound great. So he's done something to make it work. Maybe he's just not hitting it real hard in the front, or maybe when he's hitting it hard, they have to pull out the loudest more good because that's how you make that work. I don't know. It doesn't match my experience with the Kemper, but I will say this. He is the perfect candidate for doing this and the perfect troll for having kept it a secret for a year.
Oh God,
that's secret.
He is such a great troll. He is one of the few people on the Bonamassa list of trolls that trolls so great. I want to say this. First of all, bravo to all the guys
Yeah,
at
congratulations,
JHS
JHS. You
for
did it. You managed to
for
piss them all off.
pissing so many people off, and yet making people who are not like us. I'm not over there going, yeah, Kemper fucking rules. Doyle rules, Kemper rules. I'm more of the oh shit. Now I got to try that. My Kemper is in the car from the gig last night. I got to go get it and bring it in. But I, my wife goes, um, she doesn't live here. She lives in another state. So my wife and I are on the phone, and she goes, "So you're going to bring in?" I was bringing in the guitars last night, and I go, "Yeah, I'm going to bring in the guitars and put them in the house." She goes, "Aren't you going to get the stuff out of the trunk?" I said, "Oh, I don't give a shit about the stuff in the trunk. It'll sit there for. Sometimes it'll sit there until the next gig. It's not going to sit there until the next gig this time, but it will sit there for a while." And what's funny is because I use the Kemper for the gigs. I'm actually a good use case for that too, and that's why I want to see what I can do with that because what he's doing is the recording side of it. What I'm doing is live side of it. We have a sound person who controls our sound, and we have that ability to have our um, um in other words, you and I talked about this. I think you and I were talking about this, right? Between the last one and this one, where I said we didn't talk about the Josh Scott side of it. Well, I was saying, yeah, I just bring Kemper, and you were like, yeah, but I can't trust the sound guy to do what I
Exactly.
need to do.
Even with
And then I'm like, go ahead.
it's not just a sound guy. So like I experienced this the other day. We played in a space that is not ideal for playing music. It is extremely reverberant.
Yep.
And I brought my amp one and the bareface cab, and I didn't even get mic'd up through the PA. So I just was like being very, very careful about how I ran things. And I made it work. I just turned my bass down. I used the bass cut on the cab. Like there's a couple things I can do to sort of fix some of the problems in that sort of a situation. So it wasn't a cacophony. It sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
But
But you know your rig, you know your gear,
right.
you know a room, and you know how to react to what happened. And can do that. Not everybody can do that.
Well, and you
Think
could,
about how
and
many
I did it, and I was able to do it because I didn't have a Kemper. I didn't have to menu dive, and I was literally doing this between songs, tweaking, like reaching down and grabbing the bass knob and stuff because I
that
knew
is something I love about the Amp One.
Yeah, that's the one thing that like has kept me going back to analog gear all this time because at the end of the day, when I'm playing and something's not right, I need to be able to reach down and fix it.
And the one thing about the Amp One for me, because I've thought about getting another one, well, obviously a replacement, and getting it to have it as my backup rig or eventually a primary rig. I
Hell,
hate to
you
have
could
that much money
you
tied up in
could
a Kemper.
actually just profile it.
Right. But my point is that by taking the Amp One out, I can set that over at the PA, have my pedal board in front of me, and do everything that I used to do. But what I'm getting at is this: you were able to dial that in. You know um, what you can do. I am at the whim of the sound controller
Right.
and the person running the sound. If they're not running my sound correctly, my sound will be shit.
Or
And
if they're trying to make your band sound like some other style of music, because I've run into that where like I've come into a place and we're a hard rock band and they want to make it sound like a blues band, and I'm going, what the hell? Like no, like EQ's wrong. Like what are you doing?
well, yeah, kind of to use what happened during the gig last night. Um, I clicked. I have a for my morphs, where you can morph the channel.
Right.
I have it where it just gets a little louder. That's what it does. It gets
The
louder.
boost.
And right, I'm boosting it because every other way I tried to boost it, I wasn't getting anything out of it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to create my own boost. I'm going to make it noticeably louder. 6 dB. So 6 to 10, depending on the channel and how much distortion.
Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot of boost.
A lot loud. And guess what? I hit the button during sound check. I hit the button, and it morphs, and my volume went like that much.
Yeah, because there's a compressor.
He was compressing the shit out of me, and I proved it. I said, "You compressing my signal?" And he goes, "Yeah, I got you compressed." I said, "You're compressing my signal. All the work I do to get all my levels exactly
unless
the same,
you're going to sit there and ride the fader,
right? You're not boosting." I said, "There's a reason everybody says every time I go to a solo, they don't hear me. It's because you're compressing the shit out of me." And the other guy used to run a amp on stage, so he was being heard louder because he would get louder.
The amp actually physically got louder. This is exactly the reason why I was telling you, Jim. I even if with a good sound guy, if the guy has to take a piss, your solo comes up and you're like hitting it, and you're like, you can hear it in your ears,
But there's no reason to compress.
There's nothing out front.
Yeah, there's no reason to compress me. I'm already running compression. I'm already running every channel at exactly the same level.
So that's kind of the new school way of how you run sound, is you compress everything. And then somebody sits there and writes the faders. But if you're not writing the faders, you shouldn't be following those trends.
Right. And I'm not complaining. First of all, I don't pay him. It's not my. They bands sound person. And secondly, I'm not in control of it. But I do want. I get people who say to me, "Jim, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear your solo. I didn't hear your guitar. I didn't hear this. I didn't hear that. I could hear Joe just fine. Couldn't hear you." And now I'm going to be the only guitar player.
So he's got to get his act together, or you got to go to a physical amp.
Right. That's exactly what's going to happen. One of those two things is going to have to happen. And I'm going to let Tim know, our leader, band leader. That's got to happen. One of those two things. And I'll talk more about it at the gig report, because that's down the road. Anyway, so what I was trying to do was trying to make it so that his job is easier. But I was always using, and that's the thing about the morph. So I want to be able to morph in some effects, do some things. And yet I wasn't able to do that because I was using it all to give myself volume that didn't exist on the other end. Anyway, I'm going to sit down. I've got a few weeks of off time. January is kind of dead for gigs. And I'm going to sit down, take my pedal board, integrate the Kemper, and now I'm going to look like I've got a flight case every time I go in there, because I got a lot of pedals. I'm going to take a lot of dirt pedals off. There's a lot of redundancy on my board.
Yeah, dude, you only really for the kind of stuff kind of stuff you're doing, there's like 3 dirt pedals and maybe a modulation pedal and a delay and a boost.
You got it.
So I mean, honestly, so you're gonna laugh when I tell you how I got through the last gig, but we'll save that when we get to gig report. So the last topic we have here is what's coming in 2023, and I think the theme of tonight has been who cares.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter to guitarists anyway, because no matter what new shit comes next year, you're either going to love it, and be like, oh, this is another clone, or you're going to be like, this is non-traditional. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
So this is kind of a moot topic, but I do actually want to talk about some of the things that are coming in 2023. We know there's new PRS stuff coming.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just being silly.
There's new PRS stuff coming.
There's actually 6 of them, folks, and I can't tell you what it is. Yeah. I can just say and it's actually, most of it is relatively exciting as far as what you're going to see.
There's new PRS stuff. I think there's going to be new Kemper stuff this year. And this has nothing to do with me talking to HW, by the way. It's been a year. It's been a while since they've had a product release. It's been 3 years, I think, since the Power Cab came out.
Stage. Yeah. The Stage came out a few years before that, or a couple years before that.
Yeah, it was a year before that. Those things all came out like right together within like a 1 year time span. It has been said that the hardware platform that the Kemper lives on is now becoming obsolete to the point where Motorola is no longer making the chipset. So I suspect we will see an ARM version of this, of the Kemper hardware.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, because that's what everybody else is doing now, right? Like they're getting away from Shark DSP because the ARM stuff is so good now. If you have designers in house who can build an ARM chipset for you, you can pay the license fee to ARM, and you can go and develop your own thing, which is exactly what Strymon did. And I have a feeling you're going to see more companies doing this as time goes on, because it makes sense to not be beholden to somebody like Shark, who doesn't do regular chip updates. So Shark does do regular chip updates, but they're stifled by the fact that the industry, there's only a certain amount of money in this industry. It's not like over in the PC side of things where hardware just gets money thrown at it all year long by business. Reality is it's just musicians buying stuff. So it's a much smaller market.
As much as we love our industry, and we do love our industry, we love these things, but we are a really, really, go anywhere. I don't care where it is. McDonald's, Kroger, wherever it is you go, wherever it is you shop, wherever it is you eat, and ask 10 people, 10 random people, not people 10 random people about guitars, and they're going to look at you like you're a Yu-Gi-Oh collector. They don't know anything about it. Matter of fact, they're more likely to know about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Probably. Well, that's what I was just going to say. So, like, pretty much everything else is a bigger market that people spend money on. So, like, people buying, pretty much anything else, like furniture or whatever, is a much bigger market for design innovation money to go into. And so, if you're thinking about tech and the amount of money that costs to develop a chipset, that's basically what I was getting at. So, I suspect we're going to get new Kemper stuff this year. It would not surprise me if we hear new Helix devices this year. If it's a new Helix device, it will likely be backwards compatible with the current one, and it will probably be updated in parallel, but that it will have some sort of killer features and probably have some exclusive modeling in it.
Correct. There will be at some point, just like an iPhone 8, it will die.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's been around 10 years and it hasn't yet. I mean, I think we just hit the 10th anniversary of Helix, right? Let me look.
Yeah, you might be.
This is riveting
journalism. This is journalism at its best. We now go to our reporter in Chicago, Illinois.
2015.
David Hill.
It's just not 10 years, but it's 7.
Yeah,
which is way
7
old.
years.
That is the product life cycle for most digital stuff in our
PlayStation, Xbox.
Well, no. In the music field specifically.
Yeah.
Most products after 7 years, if they're digital, are refreshed. So
think about it for a minute.
Yeah. So, there are some things that get offered as legacy items. So don't go and look at Eventide, because Eventide's still selling this Time Factor and the Space and all that stuff, because those are legacy products that they're continuing to support and develop. But if you look at things like the pods, right? We got a new pod roughly every 6 years. And then all of the supporting apparatuses for that were changed over in the next year or two after the new pod launches. Kemper is now over 10 years old. I think it is, when I had it was like 7 or 8 years old. 2011. Yeah. Just 11 years old.
Yep.
Quad Cortex, you're not going to see anything there. You might see a smaller product from them. But from my understanding, the QC still doesn't have all the features I said it would at launch. Nope. And they're still rolling out updates with that are like feature updates for stuff that was supposed to have at launch.
That was be my iPhone 11.
That was about 6 months ago. Was the last time I looked into it. But these products are the things that I'm paying attention to, the digital stuff, because these are the things that are the hot items right now. Unfortunately, when Friedman comes out with a new amplifier, we all get esoterically excited about it. But the Kemper, the Helix, the Quad Cortex, and all these other modeling devices are just crushing those in terms of sales numbers.
Yeah, the numbers. Yeah.
Which is something I don't think people realize, like that Fractal is probably outselling Marshall.
And yeah, I would probably wholeheartedly agree with that. What's funny, again, you get to the guitar innovation. Amps are pretty much solid state modeling amps aside. Amps are pretty much still chasing that 1950s, 1960s sound. There's nobody out there going, you know what? I want to sound just, unless it's Dumble. Dumble's a whole other thing.
Well, it's a wide scene, because there's still a whole like subculture of the super molten metal amps and that kind of thing.
I'm just saying the big number, like the BE and the
but that's like a JCM 800. The BE is a JCM. The BE is but actually most Friedmans are basically JCM 800s with modifications.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even lie about that.
Amp, right?
Yeah. The only one I know that it's completely different. Well, there's two of them. There's
was that late 70s or early 80s?
The Dirty Shirley is different, and then the small box is different. That would be late 70s, early 80s.
That's what I thought. Late 70s.
Because it was produced, I think, until about 87.
Yep.
And then the new ones are reissues, but
right. I mean, that's the thing. We're chasing sounds in our head that we're there, mic'd up. I don't remember who I was listening to that was talking about the fact. It might have been the whole Kemper thing.
It might have been me, because I think we did an episode about 2 years ago where I said, I don't understand why they feel so beholden to use all this digital tech to make the same sounds from the 50s and 60s when they could literally make something completely new and innovative.
The truth is that as long as my Kemper boots up and gives me the sounds that I dial in and I play out, I don't give a flying rat's ass if they update that software in 5 months, 6 months, 2 days, or 10 years. Because the truth of the matter is, as long as it works, that's the dangerous part. You know that.
I'm just laughing because Jim says this now. We actually had this conversation earlier this week. If Kemper 2.0 rolls out tomorrow, and it's got new effects and stuff in it that fix some of the problems that it does have, Jim's gonna buy one. It's just a reality. Like, that's how digital stuff works. When the new one comes out, it is appreciably better than the previous one. No one is looking at digital stuff as anything more than a throwaway piece of technology. Nobody's buying Fractal 2s because they're vintage. Okay?
Right. Nobody's going out and going, except for the Rockman. Nobody is going out.
That's not digital.
I know. Nobody. That's true. The Rockman is not digital. That is a analog technology. But anyway, nobody's running out. But it is a solid state, at least. Nobody is running out and buying the Zoom 505 because they can't. I think there's like one or two rig rundowns where you'll see a guy go, "Yeah, I bought 10 of these because I'm afraid that one might go bad." One person, and maybe the Edge.
There's a couple of guys that have done that kind of stuff because they're very into some specific like Dan Electro pedal or something.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing, but that's not common.
No.
But that's been my problem with digital stuff from the beginning. Is it's an obsolescence thing, And the problem is not that it becomes obsoleted, because we use these things, and Jim, you're playing enough $150 to $200 gigs that yours is paid for a long time ago. But like, realistically, you use these things, and then if you didn't get your money out of it when you go to sell it and get the new version,
be pretty pissed off.
You're gonna take a hit, like a really bad hit.
If it was something that was just sitting in this room, like everything in this room, exception of one item, has paid for itself. And so I have to say that even if I didn't use it at gigs, gigs have paid for it. I don't think for a minute that there's a there's a win-loss. But if I was a bedroom player and I had to like shell out all the time, I'd probably just go get like I have a Fender Blues Junior, and that would be it. I'd have it sitting there and play through it every now and again. Now somebody might say, "Well, you got the tubes and blah 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 blah," but the truth about but again, you get to that your bedroom, but the spark. What's going to be the life cycle of the spark? 5 years. And it's
7.
not expensive. 7 maybe, yeah. But it's a throwaway piece of gear at $200. 7 years.
Which at $200, that being throwaway makes sense.
That exactly.
At $1,700 or $1,900, whatever the Kemper's costing right now, that doesn't make sense.
Does not make sense. That's absolutely correct.
But they will end up in a landfill because at some point, look what an Axe FX 1 goes for now. Like they're pennies on the dollar. And they're still actually really good. For if you're into the, what that thing does. Because I know some people are says like, oh, it's really dark, and it is, but it's still head and shoulders above anything else you could have bought at that time period. And you can make records with it now if you really want to.
That's right.
So I all this stuff aside, there is one product I actually am excited for in 2023 because I think it's actually going to make an appearance, which is the Amp 1 or the Amp X.
Yeah.
The Blue Guitar Amp X. I am actually look, I know it's got digital effects in it, but I got to be honest with you. Thomas built a little hype machine with the Amp 1, and now that I own one and I've been gigging it and just loving the damn thing, I am totally juiced up that if the Amp X is good, I'm probably going to buy one because
I'm kind of holding out.
Well, I mean, it's gonna have effects and stuff in it, and he's basically going to be doing the Kemper profile thing. So you get the amp. It'll have 8 different amps or 12 different amps when you buy it, and then you'll be able to actually go to the Blue online store and buy additional models. And when we're saying additional models, like he's got there's a Jason 800 he's familiar with called the Bad Boy, and he's actually got this thing in his lab. And he's hooked it up, and he's cloning it right now because he wants that to be one of the ones you can buy. And he's going to do more of that. So at some point, you're going to be able to buy train wrecks, and you're going to be able to buy dumbles, and all the cool stuff. And it's not going to be a digital approximation; it's going to be a JFET based recreation. Which I was never a big convert to the idea that JFETs could replace tubes for tone, for sound. But I'll be honest with you, with that tube power amp design he's got, I think he can do it. I actually think he can. So the only thing that I want to see is what the digital effects section is going to sound like. Because if it sounds like ass, it's just not going to make sense. No. But I don't think it's going to sound like ass. I don't think he's capable of doing that.
And to round this out, the beauty of the Amp 1 or what's the other one? The Iridium, the Blue Iridium.
Yeah, the Amp 1 Iridium edition. Yep. There's Iridium and Mercury.
Mercury, yeah, that's it. Iridium and Mercury. All of those are things you could buy today, and as long as the circuit works in 10 years, doesn't make a difference. No software.
Well, even I would say because they are Chinese manufactured, they're not the most reliable things on earth. If you're gonna rely on one of these things, buy a couple of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because they're not the most reliable in that they use a lot of relays and stuff inside.
And when you get it, the truth of the matter is, you're gonna go, "Is this a plastic toy or is this an amplifier?" I mean,
no,
that's
I'm pretty confident mine is gonna hold up from like abuse. It's the stuff on the board that gets stuck over time because it gets corroded and whatever. Um, that's concerning to me.
When you get it, if you're a person that's never used one, it's very light, very
It has a plastic back on it.
Has a plastic back. You're like, is this really? But it, like you said, and I had mine. I gigged it. I mean, it was really good, and it sounded good.
They did a video where they took amp ones out of the box and played soccer with them.
Yeah,
and kicked them all over the soccer field, and then plugged them in and played through them at the end.
Yeah.
And we're talking like drop kicking them, halfway down the field and stuff. Yeah, these things can take a beating. As I said, the tube that's inside them is fine, but I was more concerned about like electrical problems and relay issues and things like that.
Yeah.
Mine has been solid, but apparently there was a bad run of iridiums when they first came out that like they just puff of smoke, kind of stuff. And I do have my concerns about that, but like I said, if it ends up the Amp X sucks, I buy another Amp One. The warranty is good. Like that's the other thing is the warranty is great on these. So, because it's a small company and Thomas is reachable, so that's why I'm like I don't really. I mean, I've had some people say like the United States distribution people are kind of jerks, but it's like just go to Thomas. Why would you even be talking to them?
Right.
Because he'll make sure they do what they're supposed to do. I suspect he's going to be looking for newer distribution. I have not heard anything concrete, but I know that other companies have been looking at Sweetwater as the sole distributor for a lot of their products here in the United States. And it would not shock me if he doesn't come out with a deal with either Sweetwater or Guitar Center to distribute Amp One only. Like they're the only people that can do it. Because he's had some distribution trouble here, for sure.
I can see that.
But listen, I'm excited about it because I'm just like, this is one of the few things where it actually could appreciably make my life easier. I'm not like head over heels, gonna do this, whatever, anything like that. The GGT, I'd like to play it. Yep. I don't think I'm gonna buy one. To be completely honest with you, I don't have any desire to own that guitar, but I'd like to play one because I want to see what all the hoopla is about. I would say it'd be more likely to buy a Silver Sky SE before I would buy a DGT. And I don't have any intentions of buying a Silver Sky SE. So
what?
Not unless you sell me yours. Yeah. But if you sell me yours, we're gonna have to talk turkey on it. Because I am not paying $700 or $800. You probably better to sell it on your own. So that said, let's do the gig report. Let's switch gears here. All right. So nothing exciting coming in 2023. Just to remind everybody.
Okay. Everybody, that's it. No. Who gives a shit? That was our big thing. Who gives a shit? Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I can't talk a lot about my gig. Because the things that are notable are probably not things I should be sharing. So I played a gig with Old Stumpy as a hired gun. They know that the official word for me now is if have pay, we'll play. Okay. So we played a place we've played several times before, and it was an okay gig. I shared some of the stuff about it earlier, which is I ran the Amp One. I took my white Strat with Fishman's. Had the God tone. Because it sounds like the voice of God and choir of angels and all that stuff. And it was interesting. Like, so the stage arrangement, because we had 7 people this time. So usually it's just the 4 of us or 5 of us, right? But Mike and Olivia Tash both showed up. And so Mike was playing keys and he provided the PA and was running sound. And then Olivia was doing vocals, backup vocals, side vocals. Actually, she's carrying the show. As far as I'm concerned, I think she's really good at
doing
singing.
A great job. Yeah,
she's really good at singing, and she does a lot of folk music, and so she kind of like grounds the band a little bit because we can get off into like this kind of almost punky territory with the way that we do some of the songs. So I don't know, it was a fun gig. I gotta admit, like I didn't do any rehearsal for it. They asked me to play Auld Lang Syne like 2 days before the show, right? And they're like, do you know it? And I'm like, I'll know it by the time we get there. And
you can play it right off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Can you play
Jim, I literally picked up my guitar and I went, and then I played it. And I just like, all right, let's go. And so we got out live, and I was like, how many choruses are we doing, Kyle? And he's I don't know, just go for it. So I did it all like stylized and, you know, with guitar phrasing and like screaming lead tone kind of thing. And it was so funny because like I think it went over better with him than he had even thought it was going to come out. Like, because it's just dude, that's the kind of stuff. Give me something simple like that I know the tune of. It's easy, and then I'll just rip it apart. Yeah, so we played that. Then we played just notable songs for the night. We played Watchtower. That's how we closed the set.
I love that song.
We played Watchtower. Well, so we're gonna go through, like, there's that one. We played Don't You Forget About Me, which we always do that one, which we do it in sort of a country folk style, but it's big. There's lots of distortion in that song. Like, we hit the big chords and stuff. It is not a new wave tune from us for sure.
Do you know who that was written for originally?
No.
Billy Idol. And
really?
He passed on it. Yep. He was supposed to be the one. It was still supposed to be for the movie.
Actually makes sense for him to pass on that song, though.
But he passed. You know what's funny? Because I mean, a lot of people went up to Billy, hey, congratulations on your new song. He's like, I didn't put it on it. Because they made it sound very much like Billy Idol. And after it got big, he was like, oh, shit. So he went out and he did a cover of it because a lot of people search for Billy Idol.
Yeah.
Don't You Forget About Me. And he did a cover, which is done well. And if you listen to the cover, it pretty much sounds like the original. It just sounds like the original with Billy Idol singing.
Yeah. That is funny. Well, he did a whole cover album because he did like some Doors covers, and it's a pretty good record too. But yeah, so we played that, and then of course we did Soul Shine. They always want me to play. Always want me to play Soul Shine. But it's weird because we were playing and like we don't always have a keyboard player, but when we do, I can never hear him. And so I'm just stepping all over him all night long. And I'm like, turning around, like, I'm sorry. I stole your soul. I'm sorry. Cause like when we play the songs that I'm featured on, like Soul Shine and Watchtower and stuff, dude, I'm not worried about what the hell he's doing. Like, you know, you guys hired me to come in and do what I normally do. You know, what I used to do in this band. So like, just let me do what I used to do. Yeah. So it's fine. There was no bad blood. Mike's a great sport. He and I go way back. He was in my first ever band many years ago. So like Mike and I have a 20-year history of like kind of elbowing each other, and
so he didn't mind that you stepped on him a bit.
Yeah, we were just kind of laughing about it and stuff, but because I told him, I was like, I'm having trouble hearing you because they never have adequate monitoring with this band. So it was like, I'm listening to Mike's personal monitor, which is on the floor next to him, and he's directly behind me. So I'm like getting a little bit of keys, but I think he realized about halfway through the night when he put the organ patch on, I could hear it. And I would get out of the way when I heard the organ patch because I knew that he was going to be playing solo, you know? So he started using the organ patch. I was like, all right, we're good now. Cause that piano shit, I can't hear very well because it's not loud enough. And then he was the one that all night long, we got to turn down. We got to turn down. We got to turn down. And I'm like, why? I just don't get it. Nobody asked us to turn down.
Yep.
Like, he's like, well, you know, I like it when the people in the audience can hear each other when they're talking. I'm like, they can't. If you've got a band playing here, they can't. They have to get close to each other and they have to talk in each other's ears. There's no fucking way you're going to have a band unless you have 2 acoustic guitars and a singer on stage, and that's it. That you're ever going to have a volume level where people can like hear each other at the same table, especially in this venue where you literally have so much volume coming from people sitting at the table next to you when there is no band, that it's like, come on, guys. So I'd say we need to turn down. So I'd reach down and I'd make it look like I hit my master. And then I would stand back up and not do anything because I'm like, dude, I'm not going to neuter us. Like, that's not what's going to happen here. So, and I have another friend who plays in some local bands who's, constantly dealing with people telling him, you're too loud. You're too loud. I can tell you, I've seen this band a number of times. I've seen his band. I've seen him at, open mics and stuff. And I could tell you that's bullshit. Like, no offense, but anybody who says that is they're trying to justify something that just isn't a reality. Okay. It's like, oh, the people that are running the bar need to be able to hear people that take drinks. That's never been an issue. It wasn't an issue in the 70s. It's not an issue now. So when somebody's behind me and they're saying, hey, we need to quiet down. We need to quiet down. Like, I'm like, fuck that. Like, come on, you hired a band. Did you want a band or did you want a jukebox? Are you looking for background music or are you looking for a band? Because there's a difference. So that was fun. But the Watchtower thing, this is the reason I want to say that for the end. So we played our set ending song, 2 songs to the end, the one we normally play. And we had done Watchtower in rehearsal. And they knew I was just going to go off because they saw me. They'd never seen me play it. And they saw me play it in rehearsal and they were like, oh my God, why have we never done this? And I was like, because you never asked. No one has ever asked me what tunes I'm good at. Like, and I have a lot of overlap with some of the crap that you're already playing. If you just learn like 2 of them, we could have had a much better situation getting through some of these gigs. Because it's like you scorch the earth and then you get like 2 songs where you can play like shit. Nobody cares. Yeah. So I say that's absolutely not the way you want to go and do a gig and think about it. But it's a reality, right? Like we've all choked after a song where we played really good and no one cared because they know that you can play properly.
Yep.
So I bit my tongue. So we play Watchtower, right? End of the night, we've played 2.5 hours at this point. I'm fucking tired. I want to go home. Yep. I was up late the night before. And freaking I just went for it. It was just like, to hell with this. Like and it was really good. And at the end of the thing, I was laughing because Kyle missed a couple of my cues. And I told him, I said, next time, let me sing it. And he's like, I probably should. He's like, then I don't have to sing a song. Like I could rest. And I'm like, yeah, you should. And I said, if we do this again, I said, let me sing it next time. He's like, okay. So I don't know. We'll see. You got a gig report because I know your season's been kind of weird.
Yeah. So, we had New Year's Eve, actually. And for those who don't, we're recording this on New Year's Day. Well, toward the end of the day for me. It's 11:18 p.m. So anyway, the other guitar player is leaving the band. I will be the only guitar player, except our lead singer will play rhythm sometimes when I need a rhythm player. And we're going to be keys, drums, and such. And so I got to step up, do more. And so anyway, that's a thing coming.
You got a lot of work to do because you got a lot of solos to fill in.
So yeah, we got to change some of the set list because number one, even if I wanted to do the Skynyrd stuff, And even if I had the tactical knowledge to do it, um, because I'm a rocker, and let's face it, that's more um, uh, of a the southern rock thing, and I'm more of a pop rock guy. And we had that discussion because I said, I'm not as good at. Because I said to him, I said, man, you can't leave me. I'm not as good with that stuff. He goes, Jim, you're great with the stuff you do. He said, and this is the stuff I grew up on. So that's why, you know, we're two different style players, two different styles of music. I was wondering how the hell your couch kept or your chair, your recliner keeps doing this, and it's a cat jumping up on it and jumps off and it bounces the chair. I thought, who's standing behind the chairs?
He's clearly hungry.
Yeah.
And my kids are supposed to feed him, but it's 10 o'clock and I haven't seen either of them. So
I saw the one daughter with the cat.
They were eating dinner at 9 o'clock.
They were eating their own dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I was I said, so that's gonna change. But as far as the gig went, our lead singer bought 2 new sets of lights. So as it is, okay, we are the biggest small band you've ever seen. If you ever come out and see us, people in the area, or if you check out my YouTube channel and look at the stuff that we've done live, we are hilariously like Kiss. We're over the top for all the smallest venues that you would ever see. We've got array speakers. Okay, yeah. We've got subs that are big enough that you could use them as desks. Okay, and we were using 4. We only used 2 of our arrays, 4 subs. I'm still trying to figure out why we needed so much sub. And then we have light trusses going up like so high that we have to have ladders and get on the ladders to put the stuff up on the trusses.
I mean, somebody's dreaming big over there.
Oh, we have a vision. Okay, it's not like we're like Kiss. I mean, we're gonna get big. We're gonna make the small as big as it is, so that people hire us for the bigger stuff. And so we're doing a thing for. Matter of fact, we're gonna do a thing for a bunch of wedding people so that they can sell us as a wedding band. Anyway, so and I said to them, I said, yeah, well, if you're gonna do wedding band, remember you're gonna do some songs you fucking hate. Anyway,
many songs you hate.
I've been there and I've done it. And when the bride wants something, the bride gets something. Okay. So anyway, especially Southern Bells, and we're in the South. So anyway, so we have this whole right truss. So the guys are up on the light trusses. Like King Kong going up the Empire State Building. And they're hooking up all the lights, and it's incredible. But it's like flashing all over the place, and they're blinding people. I'm like, turn the lights more back behind us, and not towards the people. And so he bought these lights, and I said, I just offhandedly, so how much did that new light? And all it is each one has 4 lights that are like in a row, but they do this.
Yeah.
Right now we have several lights. That's not the only ones we have, but there's just 4 lights, and they can only go up and down, but the whole thing can motorize, do all over the place.
Right.
So it's got a full semi. I wouldn't call it a semicircle, but I guess a semi orb of stuff it can cover. And because we're pointing them at each other, now you got a full orb of things that cover. And I go, so how much did those run? They're all 900 piece.
I'm like, I was just gonna say, yeah.
Holy shit! And so he gets them all set up and aiming the right way, and he had to put the little remote thing. We found out the remote is also the remote for the other light system. It's the same remote. So what he was doing to them was undoing stuff. So he had to kind of
he just changed the channel on them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so long story short, it was a lot of fun. And we had a blast. I was really sad to see Joe leave the band. We had a couple of miscues. I had one early in the night. I went to a chorus one whole section too early. We were in a verse, and I cut the verse short. Boom, and in a type of thing that I'm usually good at, cut it short right away. But the singer stepped on all the solos that he needed to step on to make it worth my while. Um, yeah, there was. Matter of fact, every solo I went to do, with the exception of like one, I think, or two, he stepped on them every single one. So, but I did a good job when I did get to finish my solos. I did a good job. And then there was one I didn't know I was supposed to do a solo on, so I came in halfway through, but I started at the beginning of my solo, and nobody queued up the fact just stay. That's the one thing. Listen and follow. Nope, they went to the end of the thing, and then so I was in the wrong place, and so that didn't work. Folsom Prison Blues, I was doing a solo over Folsom Prison Blues, so I started it like it was at the top of the E.
I fucked that one up the other day.
Yeah, I was totally ham-fisted the ending, and I left it out. I was like, yeah, fuck it.
Nope.
I don't know where you guys are going now, so I'll just let this go out. You're in the B. I'm still playing over E. We're all done. So anyway, we did that, and then I was supposed to do a solo over another song, but he goes, Joe, take the solo, and I'm like, whatever, okay. I guess I'm not doing that one either. And then Breakdown, I was supposed to do the solo of that. I got that one. So, but I said to Joe, I said, you know what? It's your last gig. I don't care. With us for now, and we're hoping he comes back. So, that's our thing, is we're hoping once the baby's born, he gets,
settled in, and
yeah, and they get their life balanced back. Anybody who hasn't had a child, your life goes like this. It just goes upside down for a while, and then it slowly starts to come back, and you find your footing.
Yeah, it took me about 10 years.
Yeah, it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 2. My sons, were, I know I'll tell you, my old lang syne would be out. So my sons were a year and a half old. I was in a band, Second Nature, and I'd say to Kyle, sometimes I'll say to my son that lives here now, I go, do you remember, so-and-so? He goes, Dad, I was 2. Yeah, that's right. I was like, oh, that's right. Because he was born in 2000. So everything,
Right.
And so I asked him today, I said, do you remember Al? And he goes, oh, yeah, because my friend Al that passed away. I go, do you remember Al? And he goes, yeah. Because I was telling a story about one of his solo things that he used to play. He used to play this solo. He had 2 solos. He would bring 2 special guitars for these solos. And one solo was on a 7-string because he didn't want to play a baritone, because baritone was out here.
Right.
He didn't like playing the baritone. He didn't feel comfortable, so he would play on a 7-string, use the 7-string like a baritone, but it's still tuned B. Then on the other one, he had a short scale guitar that he had tuned to G, and he would play this thing in G on that because it was, and every time he would do it, he'd go, Chuck would say, hey, Al. It was always a joke, and it would always get a laugh, even though we had fans that would follow us everywhere. They still laughed at it. It was like, hey, Al, do you want to play a little guitar? And he'd go, yeah. And then he'd pull out the little guitar, and he'd play it. And he was this really tall guy with this little guitar. And he just looked hilariously funny because it was like a mandolin on me. And so that was.
Did he play? Did he play little guitars, perhaps?
Yeah, that was what.
No, that's a Van Halen song.
Yeah, that's exactly. They took the joke from the Van Halen thing when they played what was a Les Paul or whatever.
Yeah, and little guitars.
Yeah,
that's the name of the song.
Yeah, and he played a little Strat that he had. It was like one of those kid-sized Strats, and it was a bitch to keep in tune. He'd always have to make sure it was in tune. That was part of the reason we joked around, was to give him time to get it tuned up for the one song, because it will always be out of tune, never be in tune. Then So last night we did the same thing, Old Lang Syne, and it's funny because it's just the major scale. You extend it a little bit. You go outside of it, like barely. Like I think you take a 13 and you're back. And I remember they said, "Can you play Old Lang Syne?" I'm like, "I think so. I can hold it. I can play it." So yeah, that's one that if you want to train your ears, there's an easy one you could work on to do that.
Yeah, just don't try to figure the chords out.
Yep.
You know,
we ended 11:55. Everybody got their champagne and Old Lang Syne, dropped the ball. Happy New Year. Everybody hit their champagne. I had a sip of my champagne.
You were at bed by 1:00.
And I was in bed by 1:30. Yeah. I was because and then we tore down the stage. And it was the same thing going backwards. I said to him, I said, I know everything is labeled well for you, but I don't know what is in those boxes. I don't get it. Because when you write a certain thing on there, it's an indication to you what's in it. But you need to put on there, these are XLRs for this. These are because the XLRs you use.
Those aren't XLRs for lights.
Are not XLRs. Yeah.
They have a special impedance. Yeah, Nick actually posted about that in the Discord just recently. That
really?
He was talking about the controller software. So it's funny because if you don't use a controller with them, you could use XLRs. Because we actually had to do that the other night. Mike brought up his lights. And the cable that his Sweetwater rep sold him was like a 25-footer. And he was like, why in the hell did they ever sell me a 25-foot cable? You need like 8 feet to go from the top of the pole down to the floor.
Yep.
So
and then you need the rest.
Yeah. So it's never long enough. Yeah, never long enough.
When we do outdoor gigs, I think Tim had to buy like these super long cables for those because they go way out. We're 25, 30 feet as the crow if they just ran them straight.
Yeah.
Now they got to go down along the ground. They go up a pole, and our poles, like I said, they're 10, 12 feet in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious because we'll play gigs where we can't get both poles because the ceiling isn't high enough. That's how high our lights go. We are definitely the Kiss of local cover bands.
So for those of you who are listening, if you're wondering why lighting is something that you don't see in most of your bar bands, any lighting, because just basic lighting, like if you've ever looked at what it costs, it's crazy. I mean, for like a quad, so like 4 lights on a pole, right?
Yep.
DJ lights. $600. Yeah. I mean, it's just nuts. And the funny thing is,
those aren't the real expensive ones.
No, those are cheapos. If you're going to go buy, so like, this is what boggles my mind, Jim. I can get on Amazon right now and I can buy spotlights for your house. Indoor, outdoor LED spotlights. Really super fucking bright. And you can buy them for like $20 a piece. Yep. If you want ones that mount on a lighting truss.
Now they're $500.
They're not really $500. That's my point. It's the same fucking LED. That's what's crazy. Yet you got to pay if it's professional.
Specialized application.
Well, I've been considering just buying a bunch of those outdoor exterior lights, daisy chaining them, and putting them on like a board, and then just put them on the floor and aim them up at it because it's way cheaper. And then you can have a remote that controls everything, and you don't have the fancy controller software, but then again, I don't have anybody to run it, so anyway. All right. Well, I think we're wrapping up. I've been David.
I've been Jim.
And tonight we've been Practical Guitarists.
Yes, we have.